Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, sadly, we've got another missing persons case to talk about. Now, I know this is not normally what I do on the channel, but I have discussed in the past about the missing 411 phenomenon, which is reported on and researched quite widely and comprehensively by the great investigator DavidPaulides, and I have bigged him up a lot. And this all came to light with the recent disappearance of the actor Julian Sands, which I've covered a lot. He went missing, of course you remember, I've said many times now, 40 miles away from Los Angeles in the San Gabriel mountain range on the Baldy Bowl area of Baldy Mountain. And because of avalanches and really bad weather, the search has been hampered, but they found nothing so far. Now, the missing 411 phenomenon is about not just people who go missing. People go missing all the time. And the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, are found. Not always alive, but they're found. And at least people have closure then, don't they? But what Paulides tends to investigate are cases that meet a certain profile, which highlight them as being unusual. Disappearances under very unusual circumstances with no satisfactory conclusion. Even if someone is found, there's very little details that they can give about what happened to them. Bodies are often found in places where they've been searched, a million times by literally everybody involved in this search and rescue, and they've traipsed over the same patch of ground for weeks, intensively, and then months later, suddenly the body's there. What? How could no one spot the body? Because clearly it wasn't there to begin with. Anyway, I've implored you all to go and look at DavidPaulides' YouTube channel, check out his books, watch the documentaries that he's made. It's fascinating stuff. It's grim, it's scary, but it's compelling. And there's a case right now, which I've got a horrible feeling fits that profile. And it's only 30 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. And it happened only a few days ago. Today, in this recording, it is the 31st of January 2023. A few days before, on the 27th of January, which was a Friday, it's now Tuesday, a 45-year-old mother of two daughters went missing on the banks of the River Wear. This is up in Lancashire. It's a place called St Michael's on Wear, an old medieval town. St Michael's, the church itself, I've been there, it's fantastic. It's actually mentioned and referenced in the Doomsday Book. Yeah, the Doomsday Book, you say, Kilt-Man? Yes, the Doomsday Book is the oldest and most comprehensive survey ever conducted pre-industrial age in the world. But it's a lovely scenic sort of place. The River Wear goes quite some distance, and it has the Wear estuary, which goes out into the sea. So there's a good portion of it which is actually tidal, so that can rise quite high. That's not where she was. Now, her name is Nicola Bulley, known as Nikki. 45 years old, as I say. She was a mortgage assessor, and the day was just a typical day. She dropped her two daughters off at primary school. I think one daughter's 6, one's 9. And then she came back. They live in a place called Inskip, which is literally about 10 minutes drive away from where she went missing. So it's just local anyway. And she went and got their dog, which is I think it's a Cocker Spaniel called Willow. And as she would always do, and then walk the dog along the riverbank. By 10:30 Friday morning, so you've got to think about this. There's a very small window in which this took place. Dropping the kids off at school, which would be, I presume, about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then being reported as missing at 10:30 that same morning. Why was she reported missing so quickly? Because Willow was found by a member of the public, and Willow was not with her owner, not with Nikki, and Willow did not have was unleashed and didn't have the harness on. Odd in its own right. So the alarm was raised, and then very quickly afterwards, they found her mobile phone on a bench right beside the River Wear. The mobile phone was on, it was live, it was active on a group's chat. which was still ongoing. So you think about that. She was on the phone, got her dog. She's still obviously engaged in this meeting. Something happens, phone gets left there, she's gone. So the police have done a very intensive search. You've had police underwater teams searching the river. You've got mountain rescues in there. There's no mountains around there, by the way, but mountain rescue get involved in this. Helicopters and drones are up. A lot of their friends and family are out there now, and members of the public are out there combing the land. The land around there, it's beautiful. It's rolling fields. There's a couple of forested areas, not particularly dense. The River Wear stretches quite a long distance, and there's a walk which runs the entire gamut of it called the Wear Way. And I've done part of it, but there's nothing. It's rolling and gentle, the landscape. A lot of fields, a lot of cattle. But she's only walking probably a very small portion of it in the St. Michael's area, just with the dog. Now, the thing about the dog is this. I have a dog, a big husky, and because she's big and powerful and quite willful, she has a harness on. But I personally let her off the lead. So when she's out on the beach or in the cemetery or any big park, any big stretch of land where she can't get onto a road, she's unclipped and off she goes. But I don't take the harness off. So you've got to think to yourself, what happened there? I can imagine theoretically that whether she does this or not, but it's in theory, Nikki could have unclipped the lead from the dog and let the dog just scamper around. They're just going along the towpath, let the dog take its own pace. I can understand that, but you're not going to take the harness off. You're never going to do that until you get back home. What would be the point? Because it'd be a struggle getting it back on again. So there's no point. And the mobile phone. She's obviously in the middle of a meeting. And then you don't leave your mobile phone behind. None of you leave your mobile phone behind. I don't leave the mobile phone behind. Or cell phone to people in certain other territories. You're not going to do that. It's an essential tool. It's something that you need. And especially she was involved in this, in a works meeting. It beggars belief. No trace of her, apart from the phone and the dog, has been found. No trace, nothing. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the weather was like on that day, but it's not that far away from here, and it was cold here that day, but I remember that. But it wasn't stormy. There certainly wasn't no rain. It wasn't massively inclement. Now I know we're on the coast where I am, so the weather is different marginally from further inland, but that isn't that far away. Now, the police have not actually stated what the weather was like, and no reports I've read have mentioned it. So it clearly can't have been an issue. Like the river wouldn't be in flood because it's been incessant rain and downpour, torrential. And she could have slipped and gone into the river and been swept down. Obviously, that is a huge possibility that she has gone into the river. But the police have also said there's no signs of a struggle. They don't think any foul play or criminal activity has taken place, so they don't think she was attacked. So what happened? They said they're treating it as a disappearance. I'm not a detective, but even I know that. Yeah, she disappeared. But where has she gone? There's nowhere to go to. In that small window of opportunity when something happened, where could she possibly have gone? The dog wasn't far away from where she went missing, where the phone was found, and where the member of the public found the dog and knew the dog, and hang on, dog won't be without Nikki, raised the alarm. So very quickly, the search and rescue really swung into action. And unlike with Julian Sands, the weather hasn't been bad since, so it's not been hampered at all. So they're out there, and as I say, they're combing the land and the river, but nothing. How bizarre is that? Now, another thing is, and I'm not going to make this connection. I'm only saying this because I know that DavidPaulides looks into this sort of thing as well, especially with his newest documentary called Missing 411. That's the name of the phenomenon, Missing 411. It's called Missing 411, the UFO Connection. Don't go scoffing. Don't go, oh, well, that's it now. Oh, it's aliens, is it? Well, you need to look at the documentary. You need to read up on all this sort of stuff and how these things are strangely, seemingly connected. Now, I'm mentioning this because I looked into, like, this is Lancashire. This area is Lancashire. And it's Preston, Morecambe and Blackpool. And she has connections in Preston and Blackpool, the missing woman. It's a hotbed of UFO activity. There's always reports of lights in the sky and weirdness and phenomena. It's been like that for decades. And not too much further away, westwards, you've got right on the border of West Yorkshire and Lancashire, and this is Lancashire where she's gone missing from, but right on the border you have a little area called Todmorden, and Todmorden is known as the UFO capital of the north, where stuff happens almost all the time, and they have incidences of cattle mutilation. So Paulides would be going, hang on, right, so is there a body of water there? Yes, there is, the River Wear. Strange activity in the area? Yes, there is. There's a canine involved? Yep, and the dog is okay. Nothing's happened to the dog, but the dog mysteriously doesn't have its harness on or its lead. Now, that is odd. That's definitely odd. Why would she have taken it off? Has someone else took the harness and the lead off? And if so, why did they do that? And there's a point of separation, obviously, and you've got all of these profile points, and they've brought dog teams in as well, and the dogs haven't found anything. So there's no scent trail. So where's she gone? And dogs can, they can follow a scent in water as well. By the way, they can track down the side of the river. They can go into shallow areas, and they can still pick up the scent across the water. So don't go thinking if she's been swept away that, the dogs will be useless. The dogs will still be very, very worthwhile. But these things happen a lot. And as I said before, the vast majority of people are found. People go missing all the time, but most of them are found. Sometimes they're not alive, but, at least they're found. But these cases, they're very rarely found, and if they are, they're found in unusual places that have been checked a million times, or places which are so far away from where they were, and also you couldn't physically get there. In a lot of the cases that Paulides examines, bodies are found halfway up a cliff, where it could be a child who's only 2 years old. That child could not have traversed over mountain ridges to get to where the body was found. This has happened too many times, And if they were abducted by humans, predators, animals, they're not going to drag that body halfway up a cliff and just leave it on a ledge. And yet that's where they've been found. It's mystifying. I mean, I know you can think, well, in a lot of cases, people are in a line and they're talking to someone behind them, and then they don't get an answer, they turn around and that person's gone. Well, they've only just gone in the last couple of seconds. So they call the name. Are they in the trees that side? In the trees that side? No. Are they gone back down the line? No. Where have they gone? And then, it's just a joke. Are you hiding somewhere? And then they're not found at all. Have they just gone straight up? Have they been sucked into the ground? Where have they gone? In America, there's vast wilderness, vast open spaces. I can quite readily believe that if you want to disappear, you can disappear and never be found, should you want to. Or if someone wishes you harm and wants to hide your body, yes, it can be done. But in the UK, that's not that easy to do. As I say, this area where Nikki's gone missing, it's undulating fields and meadows. It's not steep. It's not, precipice here, there and everywhere, a mountain range. It's not snowbound. There's no threat of avalanche. There's just a nice meandering river, which isn't normally in flood or, speeding along at a hell of a rate. So where's she gone? While she was on that phone call to work, did the dog become entangled in like a bush or a tree, tree roots or something, and the harness got stuck? Maybe. and she's put the phone down on the bench to unclip the harness and the lead because I can't get this free. I have to take it off, which would explain taking it off, and she slipped and gone into the river. Other than that, if there's no foul play involved, what the hell? What the hell has happened? I'm going to be looking more into this. The horrible thing about missing people is that they begin without any evidence, without any resolution. It drops down, the news item schedule, because if there's nothing new to say, they're not going to talk about it. And that's the really, really sad and tragic thing about people who go missing. The family, it'll never end for them, but it drops off the media circus. It's no longer newsworthy because there's nothing to say about it. But I'll do my bit to try and keep these things, until there's a resolution, to try and keep these names and these people in mind. Julian Sands, his family still cling to hope, and he's got, certainly a good friend and fellow hiker, another actor as well, who said, no, he's advanced, he can survive, even though he didn't have any rations for more than a day. So, he'd be living off the land, and the weather is really, really bad. So I've got to be perfectly honest and say, I don't think you're going to have a happy conclusion to the Julian Sands story. But you might never get an answer. You might have to wait months for all that snows to go before a body could be found. And even then, you might never find it. If he's gone into a crevice or a ravine, and then there's been a rock fall afterwards, you're not going to find him, are you? But that's not what can happen, in St. Michael's on Weir. There's no mountains, there's no crevices. Might be a few potholes, but that's it. Have the police spoken to the people who were on that works chat? Because wouldn't they? Unless, she was just sort of, I don't know if it was a video chat, but it was a works chat which was active at the time when the phone was found. So, and she was obviously on it. Did no one think, oh, where's Nikki gone? Nikki, are you there? Nikki, what's happened? Have the police interviewed those? Maybe they have. I mean, they probably have, but these are all lines of inquiry that I'd be looking into. The police have now said, and I think it's Detective Superintendent Sally Riley. She said, well, we're now appealing for people with maybe dash cam footage, and anyone else who's seen. They've given a description of the things that she was wearing and her face and the colour of her hair and all that. And there's missing pictures all over lampposts and trees and stiles. That's one thing about that area I do remember. There's a lot of stiles to climb over. So you might not be gaining much in height, elevation, climbing mountains, but you're up and down all the time because of these stiles. And I think it is a nice area, and it is a hotbed of UFO activity as well, and unusual things, orbs and lights in the sky, and just stuff, weird stuff. But although I love weird stuff and I love all, the mystery and all that, I can't bear the thought of two young kids who've now lost their mother, and her partner, he's done a heartfelt plea for her to be found and to come back safe and sound. I don't know if the police, looking at some of the statements that they've made, and the friends of Nikki, who are now out searching, saying, just come back home. When they say things like that, does that not give the impression that they think the person has done this on purpose and has just absconded? Hence, this detective superintendent saying, there's been no crime here, but we're definitely treating it as she's disappeared. It's almost intimating that she's done this deliberately on purpose and took herself off. But why would she do that? She, from everything I've heard, she dotes upon her two daughters, happily in a relationship with her partner. So why would you do? And no one, all that thing about leaving your clothes on the beach and then going off into the sea, but really you've gone round the corner and assumed another identity and you move off to a different state or a different country, you get all this. Reginald Perrin did this, Who remembers him? But that's not an everyday sort of occurrence. It really isn't. And people may fantasize about like, oh, I'm fed up of this. I'm going to just assume a new identity. It's not that easy. How are you going to do that? It takes lots of planning. But I find this case incredibly, mystifying. There's just too many weird elements. It's broad daylight. It's only like 10:30 in the morning. She's on a call. Puts the phone on the bench. Or does she? Who's to say that she put the phone there? But human nature being what human nature is, if people find the mobile phone, imagine that, or they take it into the local police station or the local post office, or they go on Facebook and the local area's gossip group and say, I found this mobile phone. We get this all the time on Wallasey Gossip, and there's always mobile phones going missing and credit cards and stuff and people just post these images up. Is this yours? But so I'm saying, you think that she's put that mobile phone there in the middle of a call. Why would you do that? What's happened in the meantime? Or did something happen elsewhere and then the phone was just put there? Again, there's too many bizarre unanswered questions. It doesn't make any sense that they haven't found her, because there's nowhere to hide. there's nowhere. And if the police don't think abduction has taken place or any kind of foul play, it only leaves one possible alternative. Well, two. One, that she's run away, which I doubt severely. And two, that she's gone into the river. And if she's gone into the river and she hasn't been found yet. And to be honest, a few days have gone by now and she hasn't got any provisions. She hasn't gone out. She's only took the dog for a walk. That's all she's done. So even though the weather hasn't been incredibly bad, it'd still be cold. It's cold at night. And it's definitely colder inland than it is here. So, and in fact, last night, I know for a fact that it was actually 8 degrees last night. Because I was throwing duvet back thinking, why am I roasting hot? It was 8 degrees. But, it has been down to -2 or -3 or even less. So if she's been out on a night like that, it's not going to be comfortable. I'll tell you that for a fact. But very strange, very strange. I'll be keeping my ear to the ground on this because, at the moment, it's in the first phase, the first sort of week of searching, where you will hear bits. If nothing transpires at the end of this week, then you've got to start digging to try and find out what's going on. But that's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. If they don't find anything, then there's nothing to say. And it will just drop off the radar, as seemingly Nicola Bulley has done as well. I hope she's found, hope she's okay. But again, like with Julian Sands, you're thinking now, well, if you were okay, you'd have come home by now. You'd have been found by now. I mean, she's not going to be sitting in a little treehouse somewhere, is she? Yeah. She hasn't gone out with the intention of going missing. She took the dog for a walk. See, if dogs could talk, imagine how much easier life would be, or how much more difficult it might be. How much louder it would be, because the bastards don't shut up, do they? Right, folks, I'll be back with other videos throughout today because I've got other stuff lined up. But I thought I'd bring this to your attention because it definitely does seem a bit more mysterious than Julian Sands. Julian Sands has gone missing in an avalanche. There you go. People are going to go missing in circumstances like that. But not when you're just walking your dog beside a peaceful river in broad daylight in the morning. That just doesn't happen. I truly hope and pray that it isn't foul play. That would just be the worst. But fingers crossed that she does surface. Maybe she got drifted down and she's been concussed. Maybe she's in a different village, and she's banged her head. And I think we'd have heard about that by now, though. Anyway, folks, I have been overshadowed Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever mysterious in between time, please keep it Celtic, and watch your step. Be careful out there. It's a crazy old world, so just be careful. Look out for each other, because you never know what's around the corner. I'm going to see you all later. Aye, it's a mystery.